They say money can't buy love, but nobody told me it could complicate everything. I was just his secretary, keeping his calendar, answering his calls, staying invisible. Then one late night in his office, everything changed, and suddenly, the contract I signed didn't cover what my heart was doing. Hey, beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing something deeply personal, a story about love, power, and the courage it takes to choose your heart over everything else. This isn't just a romance. This is about a Black woman finding her voice in spaces that weren't built for her, and a man learning that real love means letting go of control. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever loved someone you thought was impossible, or if you're just here for a story that'll make you feel everything, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I post real stories like this every week. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever caught feelings for someone completely off limits? Let's talk about it. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Nia Thompson, and 3 years ago I was broke, exhausted, and desperate. I'm talking working 3 jobs broke. Morning shift at a coffee shop, afternoon doing data entry from my tiny apartment in Queens, nights waitressing at a diner in Midtown. I had my associate degree in business administration from community college, student loans breathing down my neck, and a dream that felt further away every single day. I wanted to run my own consulting firm someday, help small businesses grow, be my own boss. But reality was choosing between groceries and the electric bill. When I saw the posting for an executive secretary position at Harrison & Cole Industries, I almost didn't apply. A tech billionaire's personal secretary. Girl, I figured they wanted someone with a fancy degree and connections I'd never have. But the salary had 3 more zeros than anything I'd seen. And it came with benefits. Real healthcare. Not that bargain plan that covers nothing. So I applied, never expecting the call back. The interview was intimidating as hell. 35th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, marble everything. And then Christopher Harrison walked in. Tall, sharp jaw, eyes that looked right through you, custom suit that probably cost more than my yearly rent. He was 35, but carried himself like someone who'd seen too much too fast. Self-made billionaire, built his company from nothing, worth $4.2 billion according to Forbes. He asked me 3 questions, stared at my resume for 30 seconds and said, "You start Monday. Don't be late. I go through secretaries fast." Not exactly a warm welcome, but I needed that job. So Monday morning I showed up in my best thrift store blazer and got to work. And let me tell you, Christopher Harrison was every bit as cold as they warned me. He barely looked at me those first few months. I was just a voice on the intercom, hands that organised his files, someone to bark orders at between meetings. Get me coffee. Cancel that appointment. Book a flight. No, please, no thank you, just expectations and that icy stare if something wasn't perfect. The office gossip said he'd gone through 5 secretaries in 2 years. One quit crying after 3 weeks. Another one threw her coffee at him and walked out. I understood why. The man was demanding, impossible to please, worked 18-hour days and expected everyone else to do the same. But I kept my head down, did my job flawlessly, and stayed invisible. That was the unspoken rule. Don't get personal, don't ask questions, definitely don't have opinions about anything that wasn't work-related. Then came that night. 3 months into the job, everyone had gone home except us. It was almost midnight, and I was finishing up some reports when I noticed his office lights still on. I walked past and saw him standing at those massive windows, glass of whiskey in his hand, just staring out at the city lights. He looked tired. Not businessman tired. Soul tired. Human. I should have kept walking, but something made me stop. "Mr. Harrison, is there anything else you need before I leave?" He turned around, and for the first time since I'd started, he really looked at me. Not through me. At me. "Why are you still here, Nia?" he asked, and I was shocked he even knew my first name. I told him the truth, that I needed this job, that I had dreams bigger than this office, that I was working toward something. And then something crazy happened. He asked me to sit down. We talked for 2 hours that night. Real conversation. About ambition, about pressure, about growing up with nothing and building something. He told me about his childhood in foster care, bouncing between homes, teaching himself to code in public libraries. How he built his first company at 23 and sold it for 50 million. How he'd been engaged 3 years ago to a woman who loved his bank account more than him, and how that broke something in him. I left that night feeling like I'd seen behind the curtain, and I'd be lying if I said something didn't shift right then. After that, things changed slowly. My coffee started appearing on my desk every morning, my exact order, oat milk and 1 sugar, even though I'd never told him. He said good morning, asked about my weekend, meetings that should have lasted 30 minutes stretched into hour-long conversations. He remembered things I'd mentioned in passing, my nephew's birthday, the book I was reading, how I was taking online classes at night to finish my bachelor's degree. My co-workers noticed. "Mr. Harrison seems different with you," they'd whisper, and I'd brush it off, but my heart knew better. 6 months in, everything exploded during a business trip to Los Angeles. Major deal, high stakes, and he asked me to come along. Said he needed someone organized, someone he trusted. We flew first class, my first time ever, stayed at a hotel so fancy I was afraid to touch anything. Professional during the day, but those dinners after meetings, they felt like dates, conversations that went deeper than work, laughter that came easier, looks that lasted too long. One night after he closed a $50 million deal, we walked along the beach. The Pacific Ocean stretching forever, city lights behind us, and Christopher just started talking. About loneliness. About how every person he met wanted something from him. About how exhausting it was to never know if people saw him or just his money. Then he stopped walking, turned to me and said, "Nia, you see me. Not the money, not the power, just me." His hand found mine and I didn't pull away. We stood there, waves crashing, his face inches from mine, and I knew if we crossed that line, everything would change. I pulled back. "This can't happen," I whispered, even though my heart was screaming the opposite. We flew home in awkward silence, and I spent that whole flight wondering if I'd made a mistake or saved myself from one. Back at the office, the tension was unbearable. Every glance across the conference room felt electric. His hand would brush mine passing documents, and I'd feel it for hours. We started staying late, ordering dinner to his office, talking until the cleaning crew came through. About everything: childhood fears, music, books, dreams we'd never told anyone. My best friend Tara warned me, "Girl, this is your job. Don't mess it up for feelings." But it was too late. I was falling, and it terrified me. The breaking point came at the company holiday party 8 months into working there. I watched Christopher talking to Veronica, this Harvard-educated corporate lawyer, tall, confident, touching his arm while she laughed. The jealousy hit me so hard I couldn't breathe. He kept glancing at me, but I couldn't watch anymore. I left early, went back to the office to grab my things, and he followed me. "Why did you leave?" he asked, and I lost it. "Because I can't do this, Christopher. I can't watch you with someone else and pretend I don't care." He stepped closer, his voice low. "Then stop pretending." And then we were kissing, and the whole world stopped spinning. When we pulled apart, reality crashed in hard. "I'm your secretary," I said. "This is impossible. Do you know what people will say? That I slept my way to job security, that I'm using you. I've worked too hard to have my reputation destroyed." He grabbed my hands. "Nothing's impossible if we want it. We'll figure it out." But he didn't understand, he couldn't understand, what this meant for me. As a black woman in corporate America, I already had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. This would destroy every ounce of credibility I'd built. I spent that whole weekend agonizing over it. The risks were enormous: my career, my reputation, the power dynamics that made everything complicated. But I also couldn't deny what I felt. Monday morning, I walked into his office and laid it out. If we do this, I need to transfer to a different department, different floor, different boss. I won't be your employee and your girlfriend. He agreed immediately. Within 2 weeks, I'd transferred to marketing, completely different reporting structure. We agreed to keep the relationship private for 3 months while I settled into my new role. Those 3 months of secret dating were the happiest of my life. Quiet restaurants in neighborhoods where nobody knew us. Weekends at his penthouse where he'd try to cook and fail miserably while I laughed. He taught me about wine. I taught him how to dance in his living room. I discovered the man behind the billions, the one who donated millions anonymously to foster care programs, who volunteered at youth centers in Brooklyn, who remembered the struggle and never forgot where he came from. We laughed more than I'd laughed in years, but hiding felt wrong. And then we got sloppy. A photographer caught us at a restaurant downtown. By morning we were everywhere. Tabloids, social media, financial news. Billionaire CEO's secret romance with former secretary screamed the headlines, and they made it sound dirty, like I'd schemed my way into his life and his bank account. The comments were vicious. Gold digger. Opportunist. Racist garbage I won't even repeat. Co-workers who'd been friendly suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. The executive board called an emergency meeting about company image. Christopher's mother called him, and I heard her through the phone. A secretary? Christopher, really? I wanted to disappear, to quit everything and run back to my tiny apartment and forget I'd ever dreamed bigger. Christopher found me in my office, packing my things. "What are you doing?" he asked. "What I should have done months ago," I said through tears. Everyone was right. This was a mistake. The next day, he called a company-wide meeting. Every employee, every floor, everyone watching. And Christopher Harrison, Billionaire CEO, stood in front of hundreds of people and said, "Yes, Nia Thompson and I are in a relationship. She transferred departments before we started dating. Everything was done according to company policy. And if anyone has a problem with who I choose to love, that's their issue to work through, not ours." He looked right at me. "I built this company from nothing. I've sacrificed everything for it. But I won't apologize for finally being happy." He announced new policies, clearer guidelines on workplace relationships, third-party HR reviews, protections for employees. To the board, he said if they had a problem with his personal life, he'd step down as CEO. They backed off fast. His mother came to his penthouse that weekend. The meeting I'd been dreading. She was cold at first, looking at me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. But I held my ground. Told her about my education, my goals, how I'd worked 3 jobs before this, how I'd never wanted anything from Christopher except him. She softened slowly. Before she left, she hugged me and whispered, "He's happier than I've seen him in years. Don't let the world tell you you're not enough." But the world wasn't done with us yet. A rival company tried to weaponize our relationship, spreading rumors I'd leaked confidential information. There was an investigation, lawyers, my entire career on the line. I was cleared completely, but the stress nearly broke us. One night, after another brutal headline, I told Christopher maybe everyone was right. Maybe I should just leave. "Don't let them win," he said. "Don't let them make you small." I broke down. "I'm not built for this life, the scrutiny, the cameras, everyone picking me apart." He held my face in his hands. "Then we'll build a different life. Together. Whatever that looks like." That was a year ago. We're still together, still facing challenges most people couldn't imagine. Christopher stepped back from the CEO role, appointed new leadership, and started focusing on what matters. A foundation we built together, giving scholarships to kids like us who need a shot. I finished my bachelor's degree and he was in the front row at my graduation, crying like a proud fool. Last month, I launched my own consulting business. He's my biggest cheerleader, my partner, but never my boss. His family came around. The public moved on to the next scandal. We still get stares sometimes, still face questions about how we met, still see headlines occasionally. But we face them together. Love was never in the contract I signed that first day. But it rewrote everything, my life, my dreams, my understanding of what's possible when you refuse to make yourself smaller for other people's comfort. So that's my story. Not a fairy tale. Real life is messier than that. Love across different worlds comes with challenges, judgment, and moments where you question everything. But here's what I learned. The right person won't make you feel small. They'll fight beside you, not for you. Christopher didn't save me. I saved myself. He just showed up and loved me while I did it. If this story touched you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already because I've got more real talk coming your way. Drop a comment and tell me, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have taken the risk? And remember, love isn't about the contract you sign. It's about the promises you keep when nobody's watching. Until next time, choose your heart, but never lose yourself. Peace.